Hey guys, Society Reviews here with my review of the film Noryang, Deadly Sea. For those of you in the West who aren't familiar with this story, back in 2014, a film series was started depicting one of South Korea's most respected figures in their history, Admiral Yi Soo-sin, as he led Korean forces against a hostile Japanese invasion during the late 1500s. The Admiral, Roaring Currents, which became the most watched and highest grossing film of all time in South Korea. 8 years later, the series returned with Part 2, Hassan Rising Dragon, a film that managed to put off such great wonders with a budget of just $25 million, made its way to my top 10 list of that year. It's taken a full decade to get to this point, but we finally have the conclusion of this series, Deadly Sea, or Sea of Death if you're in Korea. The film takes place during the last leg of Japan's invasion of Korea back in 1598. Following the death of the Japanese warlord who calls for the removal of Japanese forces from the region, Admiral Yi learns that the Japanese army is trying to retreat and uses it as an opportunity to wipe out the remaining Japanese fleet before they can flee. Yi believes that wiping out the Japanese navy is the only way to stop them from coming back to Korea in the future. As a result, Yi enters his final battle with the navy, creating a joint fleet with the Ming dynasty to block the retreat route and putting an end to the Japanese forces once and for all. A few notes for this film. This is the longest out of the three in the trilogy, with a runtime of 153 minutes. One of the things that worked so well with the previous installment of this film was the on-sea battles that were visually stunning and cost a mere fraction of what big budget films here in the United States would cost to pull off the same feat. However, this is a film that is more driven by the story than the battle. Deadly Sea spends the first 2 acts of his runtime building up the culmination of the story through the use of his strong visual effects, its amazing set and costume design, as well as the cinematography that really immerses the viewer into the late 1500s. While the time and effort spent on the production values is certainly a plus, this time around, because of the extended runtime, the film suffers for being overbloated and having a little too much fat on the bone. You definitely begin to feel the 2.5 hour runtime by the time you sneak past this 2 hour mark. The biggest misstep of this film is the addition of the Ming dynasty, meaning that we have to be introduced to new characters that haven't been previously established in the first 2 movies. This creative choice forces the main story to be put on pause for a significant amount of time. Simply put, this is an angle that should have been introduced in the previous installments rather than the third film. With that said, the film is a great window of the international politics between the 3 nations of Korea, China, and Japan and how they stand today, including hand-to-hand combat as well as the fight on the seas, that you certainly won't be disappointed by what you get here. The biggest knock on Deadly Sea is that the film isn't quite as polished as the first 2 movies. The decision to go longer likely hurt this film from being a bigger hit and ending on a bigger bang than anticipated. However, with that said, this film is a war epic in every sense of the word. And this is a film that gives you enough story, characters, and visuals to be satisfied with the overall conclusion. I give this film a 7 out of 10.